One of the most exciting things about Ahsoka Season 2 is that some of the fates of the characters are completely up in the air. When you're talking about what's going to happen to Ahsoka herself, or even Sabine Wren, we don't know. They're now stranded in the second galaxy of Peridia. They're looking for Baylan, and Season 2 is no doubt going to bring some really exciting action and probably some unknown forces at play. And if anything else, it's going to provide us some answers. But I also think its duty is to set up the Dave Filoni movie. In 2026, we have The Mandalorian and Grogu, thus by Jon Favreau, and is essentially Season 4 of The Mandalorian show. Then at some point we have Ahsoka Season 2, and then following that, the Dave Filoni movie, which I theorise is going to accumulate the big New Republic versus Remnant war. But a few weeks ago, you probably remember this, I put out a video speculating the very real possibility that Ahsoka and Sabine don't return home until after the war is done. Maybe not even coming home until after the sequel trilogy. It sounds crazy, but I also explain the connections to the Mortis gods, the potential suspension of known time, and even the world between worlds, and how this connects to Ahsoka communicating with Rey when we hear her Force voice in the Rise of Skywalker. But one Star Wars fan may have just found a further hint that by the time of Episode 9, decades after the Ahsoka show, Sabine is still not home, or maybe deceased. There is one character from the sequel trilogy, Pacer Agoyo, who wears Sabine Wren's speeder helmet in The Rise of Skywalker. It's not just the same model of flight helmet, but even has the same engraving, Blast and Blaze, on the side of it. Pacer was the son of a pilot of Phantom Squadron, the New Republic starfighter squadron formed by Wedge. It's very possible that after Sabine Wren's long absence, just as Ryder Azadi was looking after her Lothcat, other belongings from the tower on Lothal where she was living may have been taken and repurposed for New Republic use. In this instance, her speeder helmet. Now the out-of-universe explanation for this is pretty straightforward. Lucasfilm used the same prop used in The Rise of Skywalker for Ahsoka Season 1. They could explain it by saying it's just the same model, but with the engraving on the side being identical, I can't help but feel there might be an in-universe explanation too. And the simple fact is, it was taken from Sabine Wren's place because she was gone for so long. This could suggest that Sabine and Ahsoka are not going to make it home for a very long time to come. It's a very dark thought, isn't it? There's also the possibility that, just as we know Sabine's artwork is very respected, that they just mimicked her design. She's literally a celebrity of the rebellion, a hero of the liberation of Lothal. On top of this, she is known for artistic accolades, so mimicking her design in the context of a New Republic squadron could just be a sign of respect. It could be as simple as that. Phantom Squadron is an interesting group, mentioned in Battlefront 2, but its first appearance being Aftermath Life Debt. Captain Wedge Antilles of the New Republic informed his student Temin Wexley that he was planning to establish a new squadron. According to the book, Phantom Squadron consisted of, quote, washouts, burnouts, and capable freaks. At the urging of Leia Organa, Phantom leader Wedge Antilles and his squadron launched an unsanctioned attack on the Imperial-occupied world of Kashyyyk. By the time of the attack, Phantom Squadron numbered 12 X-Wing starfighters. Phantom Squadron suffered a few losses, but made a big difference. But then following this, in private, disciplinary action was taken against them and shut down because the New Republic was transitioning from a rebel movement into a proper government, and they wanted to take action against Phantom Squadron for acting outside of the command structure, but they were re-established before the Battle of Jakku, after the Senate authorized military intervention. Now believe it or not, this isn't the only connection between the characters from Rebels and the Rise of Skywalker. During the Battle of Exegol, the Ghost is present. Either Hera Syndulla or her son Jason is presumably piloting, but it's never confirmed who. And alongside them, maybe Bo-Katan, because there's a Mandalorian gauntlet. The novelization of the movie does confirm it is the Ghost though, but they left the specifics scarce for future storytellers to fill in the rest. It was just meant to be an Easter egg. I'd like to think Jason is piloting by that point, but there's no reason to believe that Hera isn't alive. But if it is Jason, and he's Force sensitive, he might appear in the Rey movie as a Jedi helping her out. And for those concerned that the Ghost didn't make it, it was seen landing on Agent Kloss after the battle, so the passengers survived. But one beloved character on Exagol who didn't, that doesn't get enough love, or the fitting tribute he deserved, was Nien Nunb. the Celestin rebel hero who aided Lando Calrissian take down the second Death Star in Return of the Jedi. He is confirmed to have died in the J.J. Abrams movie, and finding out this information really left a sour taste in my mouth. It reminded me of the disrespect shown to Admiral Akbar in The Last Jedi. Both characters were done dirty, both characters died off screen, but what you might not know is that in the few years leading up to Episode 9, Nien Nunb's story is pretty interesting. There were times where Leia Organa invited Nunb to co-pilot the Millennium Falcon, and Chewie became good friends with him. Every time they would fly together, they would bump fists just before takeoff, and between Episode 8 and 9, Nunb was positioned at the Resistance base on Batuu. In his time there, he was tasked with flying the inter-system transport ship that flew Lieutenant Beck and his recruits to General Leia Organa's secret location. But the ship didn't make it because they had to intercept the First Order. But during the Battle of Exegol, Nien Nunb and the classic ship the Tantive 4 were victims of Palpatine's Force lightning that he shot up into the sky just before reinforcements arrived. It would be criminal to not have him return for the Mandoverse. At some point during the New Republic, we saw Admiral Akbar in the Ahsoka show, and he deserves more screen time and story before his eventual death. But did you know, apart from connections to Star Wars Rebels, there are also some ships from Star Wars Resistance, a pretty underrated animated TV show that appeared at the Battle of Exegol in Episode 9 as well. The show only had 2 seasons, but elements from it carried over into live action. On StarWars.com, they mention that 3 of the 14,000 ships that arrived on Exagol first appeared in Star Wars Resistance. The first one is the Fireball, Jarek Yeager's racer, and Tora Dosa's ship. And a fun fact you might not know, over a span of 5 days in December of 2019, The Rise of Skywalker, an episode of The Mandalorian, and an episode of Resistance all released. This is Star Wars' only instance of 2 separate television shows and a film being released this close together. I don't think that's going to happen for a very long time, but in 2026, we might get The Mandalorian and Grogu and Ahsoka Season 2 quite close together, and perhaps a currently unannounced animated show. I guess we'll have to find out. But before The Rise of Skywalker, there was a bit of a reverse situation where after The Force Awakens, voices from the sequel trilogy can be heard in the World Between Worlds. In Star Wars Rebels Season 4 Episode 14, we hear Rey and Kylo Ren, obviously not concurrent to the events of Star Wars Rebels, but because the nature of the World Between Worlds is a doorway to all moments in time, and that one of course is in the future in The Force Awakens. So while fans will say this is coincidence, it's just fan service and Easter eggs, I think there's a wider story that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are now picking up, and beginning to expand and connect. But what do you guys think? I hope you found these facts very interesting, and what are your theories? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, check me out on socials, and may the Force be with you, always.